My name is Becker. I attended the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia for my undergraduate, and then I attended Wake Forest University School of Law, and I graduated in 2017. My major was International Relations with a minor in Public Health at the College of William and Mary. On the legal side of things, when I was in law school, I was a research assistant for a comparative law professor. I participated in a lot of different activities, including pro bono expungement clinics and whatnot. And I also won the Transactional law competition during my second year at Wake Forest Law. I worked at Legal Aid in Fredericksburg, Virginia for 9 months during my gap year. I volunteered and interned at the Public Defender's Office. I was the sole judicial extern for the chief administrative law judge of the Environmental Protection Agency in Washington, D.C. I did a lot of different things. So I would say that throughout all of those experiences and all of those communities, BridgeehouseLaw is definitely my favorite. And the variety and amount of work that I get to do is really amazing. My internship at BridgeehouseLaw was a great experience. I think that was the first experience that I had where I felt like I truly understood what it meant to be a lawyer representing clients. I had a lot of different and varied experiences before I worked at BridgeHouse, but it is the last internship I had before having a full-time position, and that's because I just liked where I was. I stuck with it and I applied, and thankfully people like me enough to give me an offer. In a full-time attorney position, I've been with BridgeehouseLaw for 2 years, but I have worked with them as an intern for about 2 years preceding my full-time employment status. When I was in college, I had a bit of a health crisis that is very stigmatized because it's a gendered hormonal disorder, and one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was to be my own best advocate. I took that very seriously, and I really liked speaking up for myself, and I really appreciated and love the opportunity to advocate for others now. In terms of my practice area, I do a little bit of everything. I would say about 60% of my time is taken up with business immigration cases, and these are short-term visas. These can be anything from an ESTA, which is 90 days, to a B visa, which is typically 6 months with the option to extend, or even E visas, which are 5 years, but renewable indefinitely, and L visas as intercompany transfers. I also do, on the immigration side, employment-based green card applications and processing, and navigating clients through all of those steps and that exhaustive and long process that is just part of the U.S. immigration landscape. So a lot of my time is taken up with business immigration, but I also do some light litigating. I do some litigation support. I handle some insurance cases. I work with estates. But most importantly, what my favorite part of my job is I work very closely with our office in Cologne, Germany, with the attorneys there. They're a fantastic resource, especially since so many of our clients are German or generally just European businesses, moving to look to expand their businesses to the US. I love helping and working with my German colleagues because it just gives me another perspective to connect with the client and to explain how the US legal system works. The main differences between the US legal system and the legal systems that our clients are more familiar with, such as the German legal system, is the differentiation between common law and civil law. Civil law is very statutory, everything's in the regulations. There's a huge focus on that. Whereas in our US system, not only do we rely on statutes and regulations, but we also have to look at case law to see what is precedent. And one of the main impacts of the differences in these two systems is that there's a lot less predictability with US litigation. So for instance, the fact finder can always find a different fact in the US, whether that be judge or jury. in Germany and in other places, I've been told that it's much more predictable. And I've had the experience of observing German trial proceedings firsthand. So I love getting that perspective as well. I would say I really like a challenge. I'm very detail oriented. When I get a visa, my preferred way of working is I love to sit down with the same visa for 4 hours at a time, really dig into it, understand the nuances, so that when I'm in that zone, I can just get the bulk of the application done and prepared and cross-referenced across the various documents that need to be prepared. I'd also say another strength of mine is my creativity. I really like coming up with solutions for clients when they're in a pickle. What have I not learned since I've been with BridgehouseLaw? I've learned so much. Every day is a learning experience. I love working at BridgehouseLaw because you never really know what to expect. We get random cases in random fields of law, and it's really fun and exciting to not only dig into those new cases and new specialty areas, but also to connect with local lawyers or potential co-counsels for those areas where we do need support. In terms of coworkers, I'm very close with attorney Thomas Joa. He's probably my best friend at the firm, but I consider all of our coworkers and all of my coworkers my friends. I think that's something that's a great attribute of having such a small law firm, is that you get to be really, really close with your coworkers, and it truly is like a family. I know I can go to attorney Joa for anything. He's there to help me if I have a complex legal issue, if I have an urgent client demand, but also on a personal level if I'm sick, for instance, and he can help give me that support. I would say with my clients, I think that they do get that personal feel that comes with being a smaller law firm. They interact with us on a first name basis. I know a lot of my clients by their first names. I'm very close with the HR managers and different officers of various companies because they'll come to me directly with whether it's their contract drafting needs or their immigration needs or whatever else that they need. I really like and appreciate the opportunity to work with Attorney Van Hennigs. He's quite a character and he has a lot of responsibilities. So one thing that I've really appreciated from working with Attorney Van Hennigs is usually if I bring up a specific client issue, he'll have had experience with something that, if not exactly like my situation, is parallel to that, and that provides a good stepping stone to start out from. Attorney Van Hennigs is very diplomatic, and I think that's something that I've learned working under him and just observing his client interactions. I think that he has really taught me how to see things from the client's perspective, and that the solution or coming to a solution is really the most important deliverable that you can give to a client. I really like advocating for others, and I also really like learning about people's backgrounds and helping to achieve their personal goals. I just get a lot of pride and accomplishment from having a client come in one day, form an LLC, come in the next, apply for a visa. I love just the productivity and the accomplishment that makes me feel. Like some of the companies that I've worked with, I started out from just random Zoom meetings to, entity strategic decision making, to founding the company with the organizational resolutions, the articles of organization or the articles of incorporation, depending on the different entity type, to tax status, to getting the employer identification number assigned to the entity, to opening up a bank account, to all the different practical aspects that our firm can help out with, especially since a lot of the subsidiaries that we deal with, a lot of the officers or presidents or principals of those entities are abroad. So we're very aware of the practical necessity of having someone local to help out with that. And we have wide experience on all facets. I like to build trust with clients through honesty. I think that that's the best way to build trust, is to be transparent, right? So that they can see where the problem is coming from, but also how to fix that. So I like to be transparent, and when I am transparent, I also like to provide options moving forward so that it's not just me coming to a client with a problem, it's also coming to them with a proposed solution. Bridge House is a very unique firm insofar as we don't have a niche specialty area, we have a niche clientele. Our niche clientele are German or European businesses looking to expand to the US. And Bridge House has years and years of experience helping companies navigate that transition and to grow their businesses in the US. So I think even if we might not be the correct law firm for all of a client's needs, for instance, if there's a complex commercial litigation matter that we might want to co-counsel on, we can provide the core services for a new business being founded and organized and growing in the US, whether that's intellectual property protection, commercial contracts drafting, visa acquisition, you name it. I have always really valued our interns and the contributions that they bring to the table, from just getting to know them on a personal level through the interview process to developing their professional experience in a law firm environment. I would say that interns are probably our greatest resource. They have a lot of drive and ambition and creative ideas because they don't have as much experience. So they'll come up with really wild ideas, sometimes completely impracticable, but at other times really quite original and problem solving. I would say one of the things that was really unique about my experience interning at BridgehouseLaw, but also the experience that now I get to help provide to our interns, is that we really treat interns as if they are lawyers. Nothing goes to a client, nothing goes out without quality control, of course, but we really love the tenacity and the drive that our interns have when we give them a new matter and we say, okay, review this and tell me what you think should go next. Give me an overview and tell me what you think should happen next. And by having those conversations over time, we can see them in real time develop those skills and develop those instincts as to what needs to be done next, whether it's a demand letter or a client referral or a sit-down conversation with the client or a different filing. The interns get to experience it all. And I love including them not only in my practical day-to-day work in the office, but also taking them to trial, taking them to court, getting them to go to the courthouse and pull files for me, to just experience a wide array of different specialties even. One of my biggest accomplishments as an attorney has been helping draft a multi-million-dollar embezzlement case complaint. That was really fantastic, and working with other attorneys to hone in on the various causes of action that could be applicable in order to get the most monetary recovery for our clients. That has been really influential to me. But I think my most personally valuable accomplishments have come from starting a conversation with a client one day to seeing how we progress over a year, and then they have their visa and their company and they're up and running into them at local events in the community, and being able to know that I had some hand, a very minor hand in relation to all of the work that they do, but I have helped support them and get them where they are today. One interesting challenge that we've had recently and we've had our clients tell us about is this new interview waiver program that's coming from the US consulates and embassies, where it sounds great in theory, but there have been some practical difficulties as this is a new program with the rollout of it. So for instance, I've had a couple clients who were accepted into the interview waiver program, and then upon reviewing their application, the consular officer will contact either me or the client directly and tell them, hey, you're not actually eligible for the interview waiver program. Can you send us these additional documents or come in for an interview? So one thing that we've been really on top of, since the interview waiver is an ideal situation, right, and we have had a lot of success in it, is that quick responsive time to their request to get that visa out and processed as quickly as possible, but also to, in the event that an interview is required, to file that expedite request if there's an urgent business need that qualifies, to get that visa that much faster. So there are just some inherent difficulties when dealing with US government or agencies, as with government agencies, I bet, in many countries around the world, but we help you solve them, and we help our clients get what they need, hopefully in the time that they need it. Well, within the past couple of years, something that has been encouraging is that now there are 50B, that's the statute, protective orders against that you can file against same-sex couples. It was the rule previously that you couldn't file a protective order against someone if you were in a same-sex relationship under like in relationship status. You could still file a 50C, but that's a different category. So I really like the inclusivity that comes with allowing same-sex couples who are in abusive relationships to file protective orders if they are in that awful and unfortunate situation. Charlotte's the perfect city. I think Charlotte's great. I've lived all over the world, and Charlotte has a really great mix of activity and entertainment, I think. It's also pretty accessible. And I also think it has this advantage of being on the East Coast, where we can communicate very easily with our partners in Germany and elsewhere, but mostly Germany. 5 years from now, what I'm working towards is to developing a client base that I have seen progress from a seed to a flower.